Hello, this is Max Drake. I'd like to talk to you about this thing here, Tuya SmartLife beta integration. So it's a it's basically your Tuya. I think these are Tuya developers. I think who've created this one here, and it's now been integrated into Home Assistant. So what is it, and why would you want to use it? So I have quite a few devices which are Tuya or Tuya and Zigbee or Zigbee Tuya, whatever. They're cheap and I get them from AliExpress. I'm basically playing with them because of the fact that my daughter's doing some automation for a plant business, and so I'm just sort of looking to see if this is a robust environment to use. I sort of came to a bit of a loggerhead at one point where I've got Tuya Cloud, and that's basically pulling in information from my smartphone, which I've been pairing everything with SmartLife Tuya app on the phone. So it's a SmartLife app that I actually use to do pull everything to pair everything with. That goes up to the IoT Cloud Tuya one, and then it's pulled down through the Tuya Cloud add-in inside of Home Assistant, and then some of the things are unsupported inside of that. So some of the basic ones will work inside the Tuya Cloud area, but some of them I've got to bring into local Tuya. So I'm using the local Tuya for devices that don't seem to work inside of the Tuya Cloud add-in, and those are things like the smart meter. So, which is basically a non-invasive clamp around and Wi-Fi connected to read the power meter on my thing. I've got a couple of those through there. So those ones are Tuya devices, but the Tuya Cloud doesn't seem to concept. It's just unsupported. So you've got to find it's got to be supported somewhere else. With the local Tuya, I was having real problems connecting certain things. Now maybe I'm doing things which are a bit naughty, and I was following this person here who seemed to have the best method of actually going through and doing some of the integrations with the local Tuya. Now with the Tuya local, because I've got local Tuya, I'd better local Tuya and Tuya local don't play together. So I actually sort of started with local Tuya, and I haven't sort of decided to rip it out and try a Tuya local. I don't know if you can have one or the other or both. I haven't really researched it that much. I had something that sort of worked and sort of did my power meters, and I thought, well, that's good enough for me at this point in time. I then ended up doing I've done three sorts of things. First of all, I brought a couple of these PIR sensors, but these particular PIR sensors also have an illuminance sensor in them. So they work as a PIR one, and they have an illuminance. The second thing that I got into was I've got a few of these buttons which when you press they change the scenes. So you can set a scene, and then if you press the button once, you can turn on all the lights in the house. You can actually have another one which you press it twice and it closes all the curtains in the house, and you can have another one which flushes your toilet. I don't think mine's an automated one, but you get the notion. So that's a long press or something like that. You've got three actions you can do on this. So the first thing was when I ended up with the PIR, which actually had the sensor inside them, the light meter inside them. The PIR came in through the Tuya Cloud, and when I paired it with the SmartLife, you could see the illuminance and you could see the PIR sensor, but only the PIR sensor came through to Home Assistant. So therefore, the lux level I couldn't use inside at Home Assistant at that point in time. So, and however much I tried to put it into local Tuya or whatever, I just couldn't seem to get that illuminance one through there. So that was the first issue. Second issue was I started to use the smart button. I started to look at using the smart button. Now it paired quite nicely with the SmartLife app, but when it came up, it didn't come into Home Assistant. It's just an invisible thing inside of Home Assistant, and Tuya Cloud didn't bring it in at all. So there's nothing in Tuya Cloud, so there was nothing I could actually put into local Tuya. But I could actually create some scenes inside of my SmartLife app to actually use the button with. So therefore I could program the button through the SmartLife app. So I suddenly thought, I'd do some of those in the bedroom. Now, one of the issues I actually had in my bedroom was I actually had initially a Tapu bulb in there, so I had to swap that out with a Tuya bulb. Because it's a SmartLife app, it'll only work on Tuya devices. So therefore, that's why I had to swap the bulb out, because that's what I like about the Home Assistant ecosystem. You can get one manufacturer something to do an automation to trigger another manufacturer's things. But within the SmartLife app, I suddenly thought I recognised that there was that limitation, and suddenly thought, well, I still want to see how the buttons work, so I'll go and do that. So I put the Tuya bulb inside there, and I was able to then, inside of the SmartLife app, create 3 scenes. So the first scene was, I thought, well, okay, then I wanted to be able to toggle the light. Maybe that would be one tap of the button. So if the light was on, I could tap it and it would toggle it off. But it didn't let me do that. It kind of said, no, you can actually get a device and you could turn it on or you could turn it off. So therefore, I actually had to use 1 tap for turning on, 2 taps for turning that thing off. And then I suddenly thought, well, I thought I might be able to get, 6 automations out of the thing, but I can only get 3. So the last one I suddenly put, okay, then a long hold would actually just be opening the curtain. So I've got 2 devices on this one thing. So if I needed 2 buttons, if I needed to do things, I could suddenly say, well, okay, then I need to double up on my things, because I can only do a light on, light off, or curtain open or curtain close, or plug on or plug off type thing. So I suddenly thought, well, okay, that's a compromise that I've got to live with at this point in time. And the other compromise is that I can only do them with Tuya apps. So I set that up and I thought that's fine. And then the third thing which I actually had coming through was I actually had a fitting that had 3 LEDs in it. And I thought, I wonder if I can get 3 smart LEDs and put them into smart LEDs and put them into there. So I swapped them out and I tried to put them in. Now what I found I could do is I could pair 2 of the bulbs, 2 of the spotlights, but I couldn't pair the third inside of local Tuya. But so I suddenly thought, well, that was a bit of a problem. But it was also like, well, maybe you shouldn't be trying to put 3 smart things into one power. You can either have them all on or all off. Like there, it does something weird. If you press one bulb, that one stays on and off the other one, and they're not actually lighting there at that particular time. So I suddenly thought, well, okay, then I can use my PIR sensor, just the PIR motion, and I thought, again, it would be nice if I could toggle, but in fact, all I could do was actually say, well, I can say, if I break the beam on the light sensor, on the PIR sensor, I can turn them all on or I can turn them all off. But that way I can control them all. Before, I was actually having to go into the Smart app and SmartLife and go into each bulb separately and turn it on or turn it off, which was a bit of a nuisance. So I was suddenly thinking, well, how can I control those sorts of things? So when I was thinking about this, I'd seen something on the forum, on the Home Assistant forum, which was talking about bringing in SmartLife scenes into Home Assistant. I thought I saw it mentioned in a couple of places, so I thought I'd look that up. And when I looked it up, they were suddenly saying, yeah, you can do it through the SmartLife app. And then when I looked it up, this is when I came across this SmartLife Home Assistant integration. So I thought, cool, okay then. So what I'll actually do is that I'll just go into settings. I'll go into hacks. I found the GitHub SmartLife thing. I can actually just copy that through there. I can go into here. Which one am I in? Into here, and inside of the Home Assistant community store, I can do a custom repository, bash it into there, put it in a category of intonations, and add. So then that would actually allow you to download the SmartLife app add-in into Home Assistant, and then you could load it into your own Home Assistant instance. So that's what I did. And then I got it into, in the settings, I went into devices and things, added an integration, added the smart one, wherever it is, whoops. What's happened there? Go into there. I added cancel. I added the Smart Life into here, clicked onto that, and it loaded up, and I thought, oh great. Then I went back and looked at my dashboard, and pretty much all of my sensors and everything are on here, and everything had gone into unavailable, and I thought, I buggered it. So the only things that did go into unavailable are my 3 Tapu lights and my Tapu socket and my Sonoff Wi-Fi switch. Everything else was Mogador. So all of these suddenly had unavailable, like this one here. Everything was. And I thought, oh dear, I've completely buggered it up. So the first temptation was to go into backups, get my previous backup and go back to what I had a day before and bring that up. And then suddenly saying, well, that wasn't good. And I thought, no, I'm going to explore this further. And when I actually started to look at, when I went into the settings and I went into the device and I went into the SmartLife, whoops, no, I don't want to go into there. I want to go into the SmartLife. You see, I've got something like 31 devices, and then I've got this 35 device one. And what some of them are is, no, it's not there. I think that is just devices. Is that inside of settings, inside of automations and scenes, inside of scenes, I've suddenly, all of the little ones with the little paintbrush palette are all, oh look, there's 2 of them have come in now. There's 2, lots of each of those. It's brought in the scenes which I needed to set up in the SmartLife app that I could suddenly hook the button onto. The other thing, so therefore I was able to bring in more than what I could actually bring in through the Tuya cloud app. So I could bring in scenes. So therefore, because they're now available, maybe I could actually make an automation inside of Home Assistant that can grab those scenes from which have been set up inside of the Smart app such that I could use them inside of Home Assistant. So I say that, aha, maybe that'll happen. So that's what I'm exploring at this point in time. So by coming into, I've done it again, haven't I? Yeah. Coming into here, I then had to go through and relabel everything. So every single one of the sensors that were through the Tuya device, I had to rename. Now the interesting thing was, it also brought in the buttons. So if we actually look at the Tuya devices, the ones that these ones do, you can see this is the 16 entities, lots of codes that they can do. So you can bring in, so for me, I can do the light, I can do the binary sensor, you can bring in the button, which I couldn't bring in inside the Tuya ones, and I can get sensor and I can get the switches. So those are the ones I'm reasonably happy with. Apart from, at this point in time, I do note, it's not on this one here, I do note that Blast, go back to there, is that in fact my soil sensor, which is quite an expensive one, doesn't seem to be working inside here. So my soil sensor's not working through there. Everything else I've been able to do. Now what actually happened, if we go into the developer tools and we go into states, you will see that there's a lot of states which actually have either unavailable or unknown. So for my curtains, where's my curtains? This was what my curtains were called. So it's got this Chinese name through here for the curtain when I set it up initially. Now, and you see now it's unavailable. So that was the naming of it when it was coming in through the Tuya cloud. Now the naming of it is cover bed 1 _ east _ blinds curtain. Now a lot of the other ones, you can see this one here, cover bed 2 blinds curtain, is unavailable. So that was the Tuya cloud bringing in. So that is what the entity was called, but then it suddenly changed to same name but _2 at the end. So that's what it's called inside of the SmartLife add-in inside of Home Assistant now. So I had to relabel all of the ones that I found. So I made a list. I just did a cut and paste of all of these ones through here and try to use find and replace to actually find which ones that I've done. Now, see, the only ones I haven't been able to do, I haven't been able to figure out what the soil sensor's done. So I'm thinking about unconnecting that or deleting it and actually bringing it in again at this point in time. But so far, it's not. I've got most of the other things through here. Now, when I came into the settings and I came into here, I actually had my Tuya cloud and I had my SmartLife and I had my local Tuya integration. I went through and I disabled my Tuya cloud and I disabled my local Tuya integrations, and then I started to do the SmartLife one. But when I looked through the SmartLife, similar to Tuya cloud, is suddenly you've got certain things which are unsupported. So there's things like the button which is supported inside of the SmartLife add-in for Home Assistant, which wasn't inside of the Tuya cloud. And then a lot of the bulbs and things like that are all fine in there. I've got scenes coming in, so that's been quite handy. But some of the ones through here unsupported. The soil sensor was unsupported and my spotlights were unsupported. So for those ones there, I decided to enable again the local Tuya ones, and the ones which were unsupported inside of the SmartLife, I ended up trying to get them into local Tuya. Now, this is the confusion I've got local Tuya that I've sort of got most of the things working, but some of them just don't. You know, like when I was trying to do it before, I could get spot 1 on there, I get it spot 3, spot 2 was never ever going on there. It was so frustrating. I spent easily an hour and a half trying to get that spotlight to actually come into local Tuya. Just couldn't get it there at all. I haven't done Tuya local. But whenever I've tried to add Tuya local ones on there, I think because I've got local Tuya local doesn't let me do. So I don't know where to blow local Tuya away and try and do Tuya local. But at this point in time, I'll live with what I've got. Now I brought the soil sensor into here, but that still doesn't work. So I actually had to go through a massive lot of renaming because of all of these ones having a different name for a lot of the devices. So if I come into there, it's saying that I've got controls and sockets on that one there. Whereas if I come into something like the Wi-Fi meter, it's just saying this device has no entity, so therefore it's not recognized inside the SmartLife add-in. It's similar to what was actually happening in Tuya Cloud. But with SmartLife add-in, what I'm able to do is that I'm also able to where was that? No, we're at the front there where we want the blinds ajar. So here I've actually got that I wonder if it's in here. No, it's not in there. Cancel. So here I can actually got a scene that I can actually trigger inside of Home Assistant, and I can actually put that into there. So if I add that to the dashboard at this point in time, and I just bash it into there, just add it to the dashboard. If I go into the dashboard now, and if I come through, and if I just go into the edit, and edit into there, I've got a scene blinds ajar that I can now use inside of my automations inside of Home Assistant. Now whether that's useful or not, I'm not too sure, but at this point in time I've been able to move the scenes and stuff into there so that at least inside Home Assistant I can maybe add them into an automation to do something else. So previously I'd been talking about Tuya Cloud and local Tuya and getting all of those. It didn't quite work for me, so I've decided to come down this avenue. Now at this point in time I've still got a few sensors that are failing, and so you know, maybe that's the thing, maybe some of the Tuya ones are a little bit unavailable, you know. But again, what it allows me to do is the fact that I've got I can make a scene or do something, hopefully using the illuminance level on here. So I can have an illuminance level. Don't know if there can be a scene or a trigger or something. If a device's illuminance level is a certain thing, then I can actually use that as a trigger for something else, and I can bring it into Home Assistant and use it. Whereas before, the lux meter in here, I had no access to from Home Assistant. So there's some things I wish to pursue. It's another avenue for people who are looking at the Tuya platform for things. Now, another thing with the Tuya platform, I'll be using the Tuya platform to get in the device management, and then I will be going into the device control and looking at the properties of the devices through here. Whoops. Here's one we need to just look at devices, and so this will give me all the device things coming through, and a lot of these don't, I can't get into inside. Like this one here, I can't remember what it is. It's got an ID 3, it's got an ID 5, and it's got an ID 9, 14 and 15. But whenever I actually bring in a new device into local Tuya, it then says basically ID 4 and ID 32, and you sort of think, well, it's got none of these, so how do I actually get that to work inside there? So I'm still quite upset that I don't feel as if I'm in control of local Tuya. I don't. It's something isn't quite clicking, and it isn't obvious, so I don't know. Now, the other thing that I did when I went through, I didn't realise that in fact this mentions scene linkage rules. So I've got to search this out to see. So I don't know if I got to find a space ID. I don't know if I might have to. I need to explore this further to see if the scenes are actually coming up, so whether they can actually be accessed. So at this point in time, I can get the scenes when I actually go through into this one, and I'm not too sure whether you can actually get them in the Tuya Cloud one. But at least this point in time, I'm getting a bit more data in. So this may be another avenue for you for things that don't quite come in with the Tuya Cloud, like the illuminance. Now this has got the illuminance in here, but when I actually brought it into local Tuya, I still wasn't able to access that illuminance sensor. The illuminance entity, and I wasn't able to access this at all in Home Assistant. But now inside of local Tuya, you see I've actually got a little button up here, but if I actually just go into developers tools and I just go button, you'll see I've got a scene with the button, but I've also got the button, and it's only got one, so I can only do a click that I can do on it, and it doesn't, I'm not too sure whether it'll allow for a click or a double click or and a long press or something. But at this point in time, the entity as such, or the device, comes in. I don't know if I can do anything with it, but at least it's more than what I can actually get through the cloud to you. So from the point of view, I was actually thinking of just giving up on the button scenes, but now I can actually explore those a little bit further. And I must admit, one of the things I'm a bit disappointed with the scenes inside a Home Assistant, a lot of the automations will actually do a toggle, which I find is really good. So I was using a lot of the PIRs, and you hit it, you just use that as a toggle. So the light was on, you wave your arm over the PIR, which I kind of keep hidden in the box. And so I just expose a little bit of it, and I've got it hidden. So I've got it. I can actually just wave it, and that will trigger one thing, and then I can use it as a toggle. Whereas with the SmartLife on here, it seems that if you've got a device, you can actually only do an action. You can do an on or an off, but you can't do a toggle. So that's been a little bit of a disappointment. So I'll put the links into some of these other things to do with the local Tuya and the GitHub one. Another thing which I just want to mention here, now if I add another scene onto here, after I've loaded everything up through here, you can then come back into add integration, and now if I add the SmartLife, if I click on that SmartLife one again, it will then ask for my user code for my one, and then and then it comes up with a little scan that you've got to scan through there, and then it'll just reload stuff up through there. And that also occurs as well on the Tuya cloud. If you go through and you want to update the Tuya cloud before, I'm using this one here as an example. I used to come into here and do a reload into Tuya cloud, but now if you come, if instead of doing that, you just add the integration again, and then it asks you for your SmartLife personal code, and then you've got to do the connect, scan, and then boot it off, and then it just reloads everything. So it updates for those. So that's quite good of a way of updating all of those scenes, although I suppose you could also still just do the reload through there. So another avenue to possibly pursue. Now, if you do go down that way, look up backups, look up how you set your backups are, and if you've got a few devices on yours and you don't want to go through, just make sure you've got some. I've got some backed up on Google Cloud or Google Drive, and I'm just going to go and get one of those and move them across somewhere else, so that you can actually go back to a previous set point, especially since every single one of your Tuya devices is going to get renamed along the way. So it might be something you might be interested in exploring, but that's your get out of jail a free card, or not necessarily out of jail free, but you can actually go back to a previous time and reset it up. So if you are looking to do this and you've got a reasonably complicated setup inside of Home Assistant or something like that already, and you've got a lot of Tuya devices, do the backup link through there. So I hope you found that of interest. If you did, please give a thumbs up. Otherwise, op pan ya. Thank you very much indeed.